Okay, time to round up today's top stories from the world of science and tech with CTV science and technology expert Dan Riskin. Dan, good to see you here on this Tuesday morning. We know the Earth is getting hotter, and it broke 4 climate change-related records last year. Which ones were these?
It did indeed. So greenhouse concentrations were higher in 2021 than ever before. Sea level was higher in 2021 than ever before. The ocean was warmer in 2021 than ever before. And the ocean was more acidic in 2021 than at least the last 26,000 years. And so we're hitting all these records because climate change is happening. The last 7 years are the hottest years on record. So we're on that upswing of temperatures that we expect as a result of climate change, and we've got to act fast.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just the more and more these records drop, these are not records you want to break. These are records you want to keep intact, indeed. Here's an interesting one. And, environment, climate change, that certainly stresses some people out, Dan, and some people may be biting their nails over it. So why did we evolve into this habit of nail biting when we're stressed?
It's a great question. Why do we do these weird things? Like when you're nervous, you start scratching your skin maybe, or you bite your nails, you act nervous. Why would you do that? What's the evolutionary significance of that? People did an experiment where they took subjects and they said, you have to give a presentation in 10 minutes. And people got very stressed. And when they were working on their presentation, they were scratching themselves and biting their nails and doing all those things. And then after they did the presentation, they said, how stressed were you when you were working on it? And some people were not that stressed and some people were very stressed. But then they showed videos of the person preparing to other people. And when those other people watched the videos, they could accurately tell who was the most stressed. So that's interesting because the people aren't behaving in a way where they're trying to communicate, but it just happens that they communicate. But here's the kicker. The people that watch the videos, when they saw somebody who was stressed, they liked them more. They found them more likable. And so the hypothesis is maybe when we bite our nails or when we scratch ourselves and when we act stressed, we're actually sending out signals saying, I need help. And we're making people like us. We're acting in a way that makes us more likable so people will come over and give us a hand. It's an interesting idea, and it would explain this behavior that otherwise has no function because biting your nails is just bad for you.
Totally, yeah, but the unspoken body language there kind of, that's really interesting, Dan. Finally, let's end it here. An interesting study on does the Mr. Miyagi method work? This is when it comes to training and methods.
Yes, so this is, does it pay to learn a whole bunch of unrelated things if you're working on something? There's a big meta study that was done in a whole bunch of different disciplines. And of course, in The Karate Kid, poor Daniel LaRusso gets stuck washing cars, waxing cars, painting barns, doing a whole bunch of tasks. And he finds out later that Mr. Miyagi was using those skills to build his karate repertoire. And what this study finds is that you actually can do stuff like that. There is method to Mr. Miyagi's madness. If you're learning skills that are peripheral to the one that you're working on, it can help you do better at that skill. If you don't have a lot of time to prepare, let's say you're training for tennis, just work on your tennis game. But if you do have time to prepare, it would pay to work on other sports or do other activities that work those muscles so that you can actually get better. And over time, those peripheral skills will help you focus on the one you're really doing. Yeah,
you're almost tricking yourself into kind of learning it in a way, right? Sort of by doing it sort of in the reverse order, not necessarily. But it's an interesting technique indeed. And like that study, because everyone thinks of the movie, oh, that's just pretend. But there was a method to Mr. Miyagi's madness. And we know there's a method to your madness as well. Dan will, of course, talk all about it coming up next week. Have a good one.
Sounds good. Take care.
All right, take it easy.
Let's hand things over now to Ji Lee, who is live in the Distillery District celebrating Asian Heritage Month. Ji, let's talk about the beautiful costume you're wearing and, of course, the dancers behind you. We saw you with some fans earlier. Tell us where you are, what you're doing.
Good morning, Jen, or how I say it in Korean, 좋은 아침. We are here celebrating Asian Heritage Month. Of course, we are featuring the Korean culture, and I'm wearing what we call a hanbok. This is a traditional Korean dress. I actually borrowed this from my aunt. And as you see behind me, this is the KT Pack dance group. They're doing a very traditional Korean dance. It's honestly my favorite. We call this the fan dance. We are here at the Art Gallery in the Distillery District. We are celebrating Asian Heritage Month. Joining me now is Roy Choi. He is with Sunny Gallery, and they are collaborating with Art Gallery for this very special event. Good morning.
Good morning.
Or 좋은 아침.
좋은 아침.
So tell me a little bit about Sunny Gallery and some of the beautiful art pieces here, or as we say, K-art.
Yes, so Sunny Gallery is deeply related with K-art. We've been working with Korean artists, Canadian Korean artists, during our whole career. And we have these amazing pieces of art to show to the Canadian public.
Give me, for example, tell me a little bit about this piece right here.
So this one is called Surfing. It's by a famous artist named Kim Dong-yu from Korea. So the artist dots every single one of these dots to show a bigger picture of the art. Instead of drawing it with a stroke of a brush or anything like that, we actually want to show that these small dots can make a bigger picture.
Very nice. And you have so many pieces all around here at Art Gallery. And I know that art is a huge thing in the Korean culture. We have a lot of talented artists.
Yes, we do have a lot of talented artists, actually. Not even just the Korean artists. We have ones that are in Canada that are representing Korean artists. We also have associations that are focused on Korean artists in Canada, and we're really proud to present their works.
All right, and so people can come down to the Art Gallery here in Distillery District starting today right through till June 2nd.
Yes, that's true. So tomorrow is our opening night. We'll be having musical performances, dance performances, and a lot of different guests that will show up to enjoy the Korean art.
Great, thank you. And I'm joined here now by Elizabeth Hanley Derry with Art Gallery. And you are collaborating with Sunny Gallery to feature this. Is this the first time you featured K-art?
Yes, it is, and we're really excited to be part of this cultural kind of event. They've done an amazing job to make it a multi-sensory experience with the art, so we're really excited to be part of it and celebrate Asian Heritage Month. Right.
Yeah. And so this runs through from today till June 2nd. Tell me your thoughts on some of these pieces that you see here in the gallery.
Yeah, I think they've done an amazing job. You can kind of see the diversity of Korean art, from more traditional mediums to K-pop art. So you really get a full experience of Korean art and Asian art.
And how wonderful is it to celebrate something like this in Toronto, a very diverse city where you see two worlds collide like this?
Yeah, it's really special to be part of this experience, and being in the Distillery District, we have a lot of travelers who come through. So to be able to showcase, art from different parts of the world, we're really inspired by that, and love to be part of it.
Very nice, and thank you so much. And so Roy, again, from now till June 2nd, but tomorrow night will be the only night where people can swing by at what time?
So we will start at 7 p.m. And feel free to come by at any time during our open hours. Yeah. So, but tomorrow will be our opening night, and we'll be having a lot of performances, a lot of fun.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And then, of course, we have musicians as well as dancers here. So coming up in the next half hour, this is my favorite moment here where they do the wave. We'll feature the Korean traditional dance. In the meantime, we'll send it back to you guys in the newsroom.
That's our Jian Lee live for us in the Distillery District celebrating Asian Heritage Month and, of course, the Korean fan dance. We'll check in with you again later. Thank you so much, Ji.
And joining us live is Dr. Isaac Bogoch, infectious diseases specialist at Toronto General Hospital. Good morning, Dr. Bogoch. We got to get right into this. We now have 4 suspected and confirmed monkeypox cases in the city. This is going to, begin to trigger fears in some people as we relive the COVID-19 uncertainty. So what do we need to keep in mind as case counts likely grow?
Good morning, Bakari. Yeah, it's a great point. But let's remember that this is not COVID-19. Yes, this is an infection. Yes, this can transmit from person to person, but it doesn't have that explosive transmission potential that COVID-19 does have. And while certainly we will see more cases of this in Toronto, in Canada, and globally, it just doesn't have that same transmission potential that COVID does. The other important thing to remember is we're not starting from scratch. Like, we've known about this infection since the 1950s. There's a vaccine that works that we have lots of in Canada. There's a pretty rigorous public health response already at the city level, at the provincial level, and at the federal level. They're talking about contact tracing, vaccination, communications is already starting to go out to frontline healthcare providers. And, obviously, this is going to grumble along for a bit. It really will. But again, I appreciate that there are parallels to COVID in the sense that it's seemingly a novel infection and it doesn't normally reside in Canada and it's made its way to Canada. But again, I think there's more differences than similarities here.
Hey, Dr. Bogoch, we got to talk about this because you just do like a quick, Google search and you come up with all of these headlines and titles, stigmas, assumptions, much like they were being made about COVID-19. The same warnings are being made. They're related to monkeypox. So, talking about the origins, talking about certain communities. Is this an important part of the conversation, as we learn and hear more about monkeypox and its spread?
Yeah, it absolutely is. Listen, we have to be honest and respectful. And the honest and respectful really is, I think that's just a good guide through life, but of course it has to be applied to this outbreak as well. This is an infection that is endemic to parts of West and Central Africa. And again, this was discovered initially in the 1950s, the first human cases in the 1970s, and there's been notable outbreaks in West and Central Africa for decades that we've known about. And occasionally there's an exported case. Over the last few decades, there's been exported cases to, Singapore, the UK, the United States. Even after those exported cases, there's been a little bit of transmission in those countries, but those were quelled pretty quickly. This is obviously the largest outbreak outside of those endemic countries. And, getting back to the honesty and respectful part, it's honest to acknowledge that there are a growing number of men who have sex with men that have been infected with this. That's true. Now, this infection can impact anybody, but of course, we know that there are some men who have sex with men that have this infection. But then factor in the respectful part. Let's avoid stigma. Let's avoid discrimination. And the best way to tackle this problem is to obviously attack this problem head on. And that means using, non-stigmatizing language, bringing people from communities that are impacted into the fold, ensuring that they are actively involved in the outbreak response, active leaders in the outbreak response, but also remembering, too, that this infection can impact everybody. It's if you aren't vaccinated for smallpox/monkeypox, you can get this infection. So it's not obviously restricted to one cohort, but there is certainly that group that is bearing the brunt of the infections at this point in time. But this is a problem for everybody. It's obviously not COVID, and I think it's no cause for alarm. Absolutely not. It's just something that we need to be aware of. And again, we'll be hearing more about this sadly in the coming days and weeks ahead.
Yeah, thank you for clearing that up. And, talking about COVID-19, looking at the numbers, over 1,000 people with COVID-19 are in hospitals. ICU admissions are at 160. But, at least one ER physician has tweeted out that they are busier than ever. So, Dr. Bogoch, what are you seeing? What are you hearing about the ongoing COVID-19 situation in hospital, especially, as more restrictions ease?
Right. So a couple of points here. By just about every metric, things are getting much, much better from a COVID-19 standpoint in Ontario, right? The cases are going down. The percent positivity is going down. The number of people in hospitals going down. The number of people in the ICUs going down. Like, everything's headed in the right direction. That's wonderful and obviously good news. But of course, hospitals still have there's a lot of pressure at the hospitals. And again, I'm not going to speak on behalf of any particular hospital or group of physicians, but there are significant issues in the healthcare sector now due to a lack of personnel. And over the last 2 years, there have been a lot of people that have left the profession. It's just much, much harder these days to staff beds. And if you talk to probably any hospital administrator on any ward in any hospital, I guarantee they're going to have the same issues and they'll discuss these same issues. So a lot of it's COVID related in the sense that, it's been a brutal pandemic and people have left the profession. But these are not all because people are sick with COVID or isolating from an exposure to COVID and can't work. It's just that there's just a lot of people have left the profession. Certainly, COVID is still here and is still impacting the hospitals. But a lot of these are staff absences because people have left the profession.
All right, Dr. Bogoch, now it's time for reaction and viewer questions. And for that, we'll turn to Jennifer Shawn.
Okay, Bakari, thank you so much. Dr. Bogoch, great to see you again. Our first question this morning comes from Lennox, and his question does raise questions about definitions surrounding the term vaccinated. So Lennox writes, why are people who have only received 2 shots more than 6 months ago still considered vaccinated and are allowed to travel on airlines, but unvaccinated people are not allowed to do so?
Yeah, I mean, I wish Lennox could pose this question to federal authorities because they'd be much better poised to answer that than me. Listen, we know two doses of a vaccine is really helpful. We know it protects against severe infection, and 3 doses is better than 2, but 2 still offers very significant protection against severe infection. We know 2 doses of a vaccine plus an infection is about equivalent to 3 doses based on the data that we have to date. Obviously, we have to timestamp our conversations because this changes with time. But again, I mean, yeah, this is a great question for federal leadership because we know that people who have 2 doses of a vaccine can still get this infection. They can still transmit this infection. And we know 3 doses confers better protection, not perfect, but a little bit better protection against getting this infection and transmission. But of course, that risk is reduced far less than it was with earlier variants of concern.
Okay. Next up, Dr. Bogoch, a question from Michelle, who is asking, I have received my 4th booster in January due to being on biologicals for rheumatoid arthritis. I also suffer from asthma and mild COPD. My question is, what is next for me to receive to continue to be safe from catching COVID-19?
Well, I mean, there's a couple of points. One is that if you live in Ontario, which I'm assuming this person does, things are getting better, but of course there's still COVID out there. So you still have to acknowledge that it's out there. It's just there's a bit less of it than there was in the last couple of months. The second point is stay tuned. I mean, it's likely that there will be I'm speculating here, but based on what we know about COVID and the seasonality of COVID, we're probably going to see a rise in cases in the fall, and I wouldn't be surprised if there are vaccines available for individuals. Maybe not everybody, maybe just people at greatest risk. Let's let the data drive the policy, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a vaccine campaign, in the late summer or early fall to help protect people against infection and more severe infection around that time. So stay tuned.
Okay, we will. That's our time this morning, Dr. Bogoch. Always appreciate it. Take care. Have a good day. Welcome back. Joining us live now with your entertainment headlines is E-Talk's Chloe Wild. Chloe, good morning to you. So nice of you to join us again. So today is the final day of the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial. We've heard Kate Moss testify. It was short and sweet. What can we expect today?
Oh, I mean, this has been coming for a long time. This has been going on for 6 weeks, this trial. Of course, it's Johnny Depp's defamation trial against his ex-wife, Amber Heard, and it's coming to a close. Both sides rested their case yesterday, and then closing arguments is what will be going on today. And this is, of course, for anyone who needs a little catch-up, Johnny Depp is suing his ex-wife for $50 million over allegations she made about domestic abuse back in 2018 when she shared that op-ed piece. And Amber has then filed a countersuit that includes a request for $100 million in damages. So there's really a lot at stake here that the jurors are going to have to really think about. And as you mentioned, this was a really big final week. We saw Kate Moss, like you mentioned, it was short and sweet. She gave a testimony by video, and she is, of course, Johnny Depp's former girlfriend. And she denied that she'd ever been pushed or assaulted by Johnny Depp during the course of their relationship. So a lot has been going on leading up to today. And, we've all seen Johnny Depp and Amber Heard on sharing their side of the story. I think they were each cross-examined for 4 days each. And now today, the closing arguments will take place, and then the jury deliberations will begin. And we will definitely keep you posted as soon as we hear anything.
All right, Chloe, it was a big night across the pond in London as Swedish supergroup ABBA reunited.
Yeah, this is really awesome. So they reunited in person. It's the first public appearance they've made all together in, I believe, 14 years. And they attended the premiere of their ABBA Voyage show in London. And I don't know if you can tell everyone at home, but you're looking at a virtual concert. And this was years in the making. So ABBA, everyone got together and they put on motion capture suits for 5 weeks with 160 cameras scanning their body movements and their facial expressions. And what you see there is the final product of those 5 weeks of them getting back into their headspace, performing. And an amazing team of people put this together. And they're calling them the avatars rather than avatars. And they're very clear in saying these are not 3D holograms. These are much more complex. And it seems like the premiere was a massive, massive success. Everyone is saying that it was such a wonderful experience. You felt like you were there with the band in their heyday. And it was just really nice to see all the ABBA members back together, and also just really excited to experience the music in a way that I don't think any of us really have. I mean, this is a new technology, and I think we'll be seeing a lot more of it.
Yeah, it's very cool. It's like music of the future bringing us to the past. I like that. I'm trying to sell it. Okay, thanks so much. eTalk's Chloe Wild, always a pleasure. Have a great weekend.
Bye, guys.
Bye.